Bitcoin just exploded to $117,000, breaking out of our range, and now we are at a very important level. In today's video, we'll be talking about which level this may be, the line in the sand for Bitcoin. If we can break above and hold this level as support, all of a sudden, Bitcoin is going much, much higher. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. This will be a quick one, but a very valuable one. Let's get into it. So first of all, by the sound of my voice, you can probably tell I'm very excited. Bitcoin just got a massive candle to $117,000. Now, where is the line in the sand? Because we clearly broke out of this range and we exploded past the previous all-time high that was set yesterday. So Bitcoin broke above it by $10. And then if we go on the 12-hour chart, we can see that we came back down to retest 110.5K as support. And then we absolutely exploded. And right now, this is a very, very bullish last 8 hours for Bitcoin. So what is next? Right now, you'll notice that we're right at the top of this line. If we can break above here and hold it as support, all of a sudden we'll be talking about much higher valuations for Bitcoin. Super exciting because, as you know, most of my crypto portfolio is in Bitcoin. Now, everything that I've talked about in terms of Bitcoin dominance definitely remains the same. If Bitcoin gets an aggressive move, which we've been getting, Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. However, if Bitcoin decides to come back lower and liquidate some of those longs, which we'll get into in today's video, Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. I stand firm by this, and as you probably know, I have my trading portfolio and I also have my crypto portfolio. We bought Bitcoin right around $16,000 to $20,000 at the bear market bottom. Obviously, I didn't have a channel at that point, but as I said in yesterday's video, I cannot wait to share with you my exact bear market bottom entries when the time comes. Now, in yesterday's video, I got a lot of hate for telling people to be careful because there are way more longs in the market. And now those longs have continued to pile up. So I would still be operating with a little bit of caution. I know it's exciting, a huge new all-time high for Bitcoin, and I stand to benefit from this a lot in my spot portfolio. However, please be a little bit cautious still. I will never be a moon boy on this channel, so I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to show you. Because if we take a look at the charts, the liquidation heat map chart, what we can see here is that on the 30-day time frame, there is just over $1 billion worth of cumulative short liquidation leverage. On the left here, $20 billion worth of cumulative long liquidation leverage. We've seen this happen before. I would be very surprised if Bitcoin doesn't at least come back down a little bit to liquidate a lot of those late aggressive longs. And as we can see here, as I'm recording this video, Bitcoin is sitting pretty right around $116,000. So this really is the line in the sand, and I will make sure to keep you updated as it develops. But right now, if Bitcoin starts closing like this and above this level and we can hold it as support, all of a sudden we are moving much, much higher. And I'm very happy with my spot Bitcoin portfolio. Now, taking a look at Bitcoin dominance, on the 12-hour time frame here, you can see that we got a massive move to the upside. And my theory still remains the same, that Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. The reason being, quantitative tightening is still well and truly underway. And of course, Bitcoin is pumping, so it drags the rest of the altcoin market with it. So if we take a look at ETH against Bitcoin, right now, you can see that we are sitting right at the bull market support band. So if Ethereum really wants to move higher and bring up the altcoin market to finally start outperforming Bitcoin, we would want to see ETH hold above this bull market support band and then explode to the upside against Bitcoin. Until we can actually confirm above here, I am not going to be super bullish on altcoins because we need to see these closes. We've seen it time and time again where it starts flirting with this line and then we ultimately get rejected. Once here, we actually broke above this line and then we got rejected. Same thing over here, and ultimately over the past few years, Ethereum has been bleeding against Bitcoin. But is this the moment? Will we finally have an explosive move for ETH Bitcoin, signaling that altcoin season should start? Quantitative tightening would say otherwise, because we could see here that the Fed's reserve balance sheet declined by $13 billion in June to $6.66 trillion, the lowest since April of 2020. Over the last few years, the Fed had reduced its asset holdings by $2.31 trillion or 26%. During this period, the value of Treasury holdings has dropped by $1.56 trillion to $4.21 trillion, the lowest since June of 2020. Mortgage-backed securities have fallen around 590 billion to 2.1 trillion, the lowest since March of 2021. Despite the reduction, the size of the central bank's balance sheet remains 2.5 trillion or 60% above its pre-pandemic levels. We are still far from undoing the pandemic-era stimulus. So why would they enter quantitative easing? Also, rates are likely to remain the same until at the very least September, until inflation is fully confirmed under control. Stock markets are at all-time high. Bitcoin is clearly at all-time high, so why would they go ahead and get aggressive with rate cuts? The crazy thing here though, with Bitcoin at all-time highs, it really is just us against the institutions, because if I go take a look at the social risk, which I know a lot of you had some questions about this in yesterday's video, it basically measures the overall social engagement across social media on crypto channels like mine, for example, like all of the analysts in the space, and like the layer ones. And so when the engagement and overall growth on these social media platforms is very high in the crypto space, that is typically when retail is here. However, as we can see by this red line on the chart, we are basically at zero for the social risk. There is no one here, and Bitcoin just about hit $120,000. Absolutely crazy. Look, obviously we can draw on the chart as we want, but right here, this would be the only hypothetical resistance for Bitcoin. So let's see if we can start to get closes above this level, and ultimately things are looking very, very positive. Now, the summer chop thesis, which a lot of you have been asking about, is it over? Well, let's see what the weekly close gives us, because if we fall back within the range, then at that point we have to consider that maybe it was just a deviation. But right now, I have to tell you, this is absolutely phenomenal, and I am more than happy to be benefiting from this from my spot Bitcoin position, because I have a ton of Bitcoin that accumulated in the bear market, and I am so happy. Finally, we're witnessing history. Bitcoin is sitting right at $117,000. Now, what is next? How am I trading this market? Right now, I wouldn't be too aggressive with longs because we saw how the charts looked. Way too many people are going long here, so they're about to get wrecked if you go aggressive at these levels. Right now, Bitcoin, I'm not touching. I have my spot portfolio. I'm just sitting back, relaxing, and taking a look at those nice profits. However, I have been trading other aspects of the market. While Bitcoin is pumping, I went ahead and shorted this altcoin in my community, and we made a 100% gain within 24 hours. So if you like to trade the market and you'd like to know my analysis in more real time than my YouTube videos, go ahead and click the first link in my description down below. This will bring you directly to my Telegram community where you get access to my real-time trades. Now, we're making a ton of profits in this community, so I would recommend that you go ahead and sign up. And as always, we have the exchange links down below. The third link in my description down below. If you are a big trader, you can join me on weeks where you get 25% off all of your trading fees with my link and my link alone. That is this link over here, the support.weeks.com. And the second link in my description down below brings you directly to Bluffin. You could get a ton of bonuses. It is also non-KYC. And as I always say, I recommend spreading your funds across multiple exchanges. So back to the Bitcoin chart. What a pump. I know some of these charts are saying 115K, others are saying 116K, but ultimately it depends on which exchange you're using and how you're charting it. But this is an explosive, historic move for Bitcoin. What a time to be alive. Bitcoin just hit $117,000, and if you're holding some spot Bitcoin, you're likely very, very happy. Now, of course, as you know, based on my recent videos, I didn't catch this long move because I was expecting a move potentially back within the range. But there's nothing wrong with that. We're making a ton of profit in this market regardless. There's so many assets to trade, and I know that some of you were clowning on me in yesterday's video, but to be fair, we've been very accurate up until this point. So let's see what happens with Bitcoin. I have my spot bag packed. I am ready to go if we go to the moon. However, I am also prepared for the downside because there are so many people longing Bitcoin. Make sure you're careful. Make sure you're managing your risk accordingly. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video.